Who are you? What are you? And why you are in Ukraine?
Oh, that's a very funny question. I'm living here because my wife is from this country and I work here. I'm as good as a Ukrainian as anybody who's been born here because I'm here for past 9 years.
Louder.
9 years I'm living here, and that's it.
What brought you to Maidan?
Today, like here, and I just don't live very far from here, and I do come from time to time because it's always good to support the the aspiration of people, to the aspiration of freedom, the aspiration of their democratic values. And as I come from India, the people who belong to the idea of democracy, I certainly feel for the idea of democracy. It doesn't matter where it is. This is a country where I live for such a long time. It's my second motherland, so certainly not that I would sit at home and just watch it from distance. So I'll certainly.
You have Ukrainian citizen and you can vote.
No, I'm permanent resident here. I'm not a voter. I have an Indian passport, but I'm a permanent resident of this country. And I live here for such a long time.
Давайте сделаем фото с зебрами.
Нет, спасибо.
Вот коня.
Thank you.
No. Okay, I had. What do you feel about the future of this movement?
I believe people are graduating from one level of consciousness to another level of consciousness, one level of awareness from another level of awareness. Democracy came to your country 20 years back too, when Yeltsin stood on the tank.
Yeah.
When Gennady Yanayev took the power for 4 days, and then Yeltsin came on the tank. But you see, the same Yeltsin in 2 years' time bombarded the Belay Dome, and he got the deputats and other people got killed. Actually, there was a bombarding on Duma. So I mean, democracy, like any good thing, has its own side effects. Like sugar, it should be there because it's sweet. Too much of sugar, you make you diabetic. But without sugar, there is no life, I believe. So that's how the democracy is. It's a necessary thing. And what people are here coming for, I believe most of the people are coming not because they are anti-Russia, pro-Europe. They are coming because I guess they are frustrated. So maybe, they are angry and they are ready to say anything against anybody so long as they want their voice to be heard. They want their voice to be heard. They want the people to understand that they are frustrated. They want the authority to understand it. They are frustrated, and they want people to take a note of it. Those who are in power, I believe, and I believe it is the same in any country across the world. There's an Occupy Wall Street going on in America. There's a movement going on in Italy, in Spain. When Greek government took over as the European Union. Now, just 2 days back, now what happened at the government, even the European Union leaders had to make a meeting in a very secret way because the Greek people are against European Union. So when I see my own Ukrainian friends who are shouting about European Union, I say, okay, the idea of Europe and the European Union are two realities. The idea of Europe is an idea of living in a democratic, just society with, the power that you have, that once your property is yours, it belongs to you, that there is no raider attack on your property, nobody takes away your stuff. So that is I understand, a very good value, human values, universal values, you can call it European values. But the health of European economy, I really don't know whether Ukraine is going to get anything out of that.
You know that when... sorry, I interrupt you.
Yeah, please go ahead.
When the question was only in integration with Europe, there are a few demonstrates on Maidan. After the 1st of December,
yes.
there's the end. Bloody Saturday,
Yes, they call it a bloody Saturday.
The people increased.
People came here because there's an idea of injustice, the idea of repression, the idea of physical violence by the state or by the authority. I believe nobody would appreciate it. Even the people, a huge chunk of people who are in Maidan, I guess some people are there that their father must be a senior officer in the government, but their children are in Maidan. Their wives are in Maidan, where the husband is on the other side. And the reason is very simple. Sorry. The reason is that nobody wants to be the next guy in the in the firing squad, just before the firing squad. Nobody wants to be the next on line, to be shot, to be tortured, to be arrested, and that's why they come here because there is a collective sense of insecurity. There is a collective sense of insecurity, and they want to feel secure. And this collection of 1 million people sometime, 500,000 people sometime, 100,000 people sometime, that brings that is a redemption, that is a kind of emancipation of their sense of insecurity. They want to come together and distribute their sense of insecurity amongst themselves and collect a sense of security together. It's more psychological rather than political, I believe. It is more psychological. Very sincere.
By the way, have you ever been a political activist in your life?
I'm a political observer rather than an activist because, an activist has to be active. I'm a passive activist in that sense because I take a very close look, a close call onto what is happening around. And I sympathize with the dignity of human being as a human. And it's difficult to mark person into one of the categories that you are, pro somebody or anti somebody, you belong to some ism. I don't belong to it. Idea is that, that we live in a world where people are having access to all very contrast kind of ideology, sometimes very contradictory ideology, and people can take some good things out of each one of that. So you can take some good things from the neoliberalism, you can take some good things from the conservatism, you can take something good from socialism, and people are trying to become, a much better human being through different ideologies,
You are a very smart person.
I don't know whether it is much smart or not, but I try to keep my eyes and head open and at the same time to be a good observer.
Do you believe they will overcome?
I mean, who will overcome? You talk about the people who are coming there? I believe, yes. Like it or not, you will have an election in a year's time from now, and people would vote from their feet or by their hands. They sometime, if at all. And the way this 500,000 people came on Maidan at the time, the passion was so high that I think if it could happen in 1917 with such crowd, Lenin created a revolution because of this kind of a crowd. But credit goes to Ukrainian people that they chose to remain restrained, and the politicians are equally mature. They didn't behave in some bloody revolutions to call for. I don't know, in Bolotnaya you had in 2012 such kind of crowd coming. Nemtsov and Navalny and others were jumping in in your Maidan, as you call it, Bolotnaya. And even some smart people came, and their Senya Sobchak came and talked. But you see, it all petered out because I believe the Ukrainians are a bit mentally more diverse. I won't discredit or credit them. It is just a bit different in the sense that it's more easy to control a state as big as Russia politically. It sounds paradoxical, but it's much easier to control. But Ukraine is so, very intense. It's like Gushana and Malako, it is... it's difficult to control like that. You can boil a thin milk into some thick milk, but you can't boil a thick milk further. This is the thing, The gushone malako vinimoji te kipi dalshe. So this is how Ukraine is a very gushone malako. So the state has to understand how to act with that. They can use it like masla and put it on the bread and enjoy it, or they can use it as a zavarne and something like that. But they shouldn't play with, because people here are also more business minded than Russians. By each one of the people has some stake, some property somewhere, so they won't like to have a revolutionary thing, because there would be collective loss. The property has been distributed at certain lower level of pyramids here, so no revolution. They will wait for their time to come, and there will be people can write any kind of sanctions from European Parliament, American Congress, and all this nonsense. I mean, I shall say nonsense, sorry to say that, but because it doesn't affect, it is equally what I really don't like, I must say, another thing, that when foreign powers are coming and speaking from here, I cannot understand it because it sounds so funny. I believe Ukrainians are so mature that despite all provocation, they didn't walk to create a kind of bloody revolution, except for some minor cases of provocation. I mean, and the way they have organized it, it reminds me something of in the Indian political movement of independence at time when people were pitching for there. I won't say it is the same because there is a qualitative difference. The quality of the leaders are very different. I can't compare Mahatma Gandhi with any of the political leaders who are here because they are as different as chalk and cheese, though they are white looking. But people are at least patient. I believe the real leaders are those who are standing outside the stage, those who are standing because they are controlling even the leaders. Even leaders are worried about how I'm getting rated. Am I 5% today or am I going to be 2% tomorrow? So they are behaving very normally, and that is also a safety for the state because the state is being supported by that the institutions are surviving. It is very important to preserve the institution because you are alive, I am alive, but 20 years from now we are retired, and then the new people come and they have to build up the institution from zero. So it is very important to preserve the institutions, the state, and the things which are around, and to change things by in a gradual way, and that's called revolution. I believe that is important.
Do you know, by the way, that Gandhi is the favorite Putin's politician?
I know Gandhi. Yes,
Putin
said. He's one of the smartest politicians. I won't say whether he's necessarily the most honest one, but he's the smartest one I see in the international politics. And I am I won't say the fan of his, but I really admire his sharp wit. That is not there amongst. And and by the way, they are both Librans. I mean, he shares the similar dates of birth. Gandhi was 2nd, he's 7th. I mean, it's understandable. And both did not have a very happy family life. Gandhi was a loser for the family friends, so is Putin. I mean, I know. I hope he has a much longer life to live and not so tragic as our leader Mahatma Gandhi had. Your leader is really great in certain sense. I mean, I don't know how much he is appreciated by his own people. That is again a debatable issue because it depends on which side do you see it from. Do you see it from the neoliberal side, or you see it from the Juganov side, or you see it from the side of United Russia, or from your Narodny Front? It depends, from which side do you see. But he is an active person who has mind, and that mind is working for the country, which is okay. I mean, there is always an opposition to because if politicians would be idealists, then they won't be politicians. They would be saints. They would be social workers like Mother Teresa. But politicians, you need to choose amongst the lesser evils. You have to choose